yeah, and stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Alright, yeah. Again, this again. This was probably my longest break, cause I was just, man, I was just tired of working. You, I got caught up in like just life, having all sorts of heavy things happen, going out of town about it, and catching up on everything else and whatever. I think mostly my video editing abilities are what's taking me so long. But anyway, today is about legacy, the idea of legacy. It's one of those things that it's a real sneaky, disguised version of pride. But it's all connected to the way you're perceiving your philosophy on time. Because it's like you can have a few, but definitely the most popular is, the reality of yesterday, last week, 10 years ago, or what are we going to be doing in a week from now, 2 weeks, 7 years, whatever, right? Like, those conceptualizations are standard mostly. And the other side of it is there is only now. And that one's a really kind of, that one's just a whole other field as far as what you're really talking about there with how to prove that now is a living, breathing thing without using the past or the future of it. It's tricky like that. But it is a way of living where you just get to ignore all the comparative aspects of time, and you get to kind of be out of it while we're here in it, and that actually does a lot more for your actually being on time and having schedule and knowing when to say something or being able to really read a moment right, not letting how much time you have distort your perception of it. You can always use it as an excuse or whatever to get out of whatever you're trying to do, but like, that's not really what I'm saying. The thing about legacy is this is part of the problem with a lot of people's baggage coming from their parents, and I'm not saying it's your parents' fault either, because this is your parents' dealing with your parents' baggage, and it's like at the end of the day, it just makes me want to really get if I have to judge anybody, it makes me want to point the finger. I have to end up back at myself, but if I didn't, I would probably blame my great uncle Lizardfish. That's supremely abbreviated, by the way, but my great uncle Lizardfish is responsible for all my baggage. If he hadn't decided to climb out the ocean or whatever, none of this would have happened. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, yeah, but at the same time, yeah, at what point do you pick up the torch and be like, you know what? I'll take the blame. Burn me. It starts here or it stops here, whatever, at least it's paid for, But this is stuff that people don't really, it's really hard to let go of because it's so connected to the reality of who you are, even if you consider yourself rather detached from the idea of yourself, right? Just being able to stay connected to what's actually here while the different ideas of yourself come and go. And that's what's real, It's like if you spend too much time hanging out in what you think you should be versus what you are, you're already spending a whole lot of time just thinking about yourself, not doing anything. I don't know if it's even really not doing anything productive. I don't know. You can always make everything work, of course, but as far as like worrying about what's going to happen to the future of whatever you're invested in, be it your kids, someone else's kid, your students, if you hold on too tight to that because it affects the way you're seen or the way you see yourself, your achievements or whatever, like if that stuff means things to you, then that's probably like there's a healthy amount of course, for all of us to have reached this point, it's not. I'm not saying discount all of it 1,000,000%, but definitely don't don't let it matter. It it's just checkpoints to get you to the next thing. In the great dance of eternity about it, and if you let it mean something, you become complacent in a sense. You fill a void, you fill a need that is more of an eternal one, and you're filling it with a temporary one, which is kind of how this works. But you can't just say that one temporary one is enough. That's the other side. Um, so you got if you can just let go and understand that we're professional survivors, um, and we're still alive. If we're still alive, it's like it's almost like some people you just can't get rid of. You'd love for them to move or something, but these people are just so resilient, and that alone is actually something to be you can lean on, and people are going to become what they become no matter what you do. No matter what you say, you can't stop the music. It's just going to go where it goes, and you can help guide it as much as you want. You can try to say you were the person that said this and this when that mattered, but again, those are all achievements, and those are all stepping stones that are already behind this in a lot of ways. So to spend our days looking back is at best it's observant of the past. I don't necessarily want to like say too much about it, because it would only create a whole other labyrinth of identity wrestling. But besides that, that's mostly what I'm saying here is like, if you do the best you can, like if you really want the best for your legacy in whatever you're trying to do here, let it be itself. And I mean, you never had a choice. You didn't even get to. You didn't even get to decide where you're coming from. And what does that have to do with legacy? If not everything in the same sense. If you're gonna participate in that, but that stuff's dangerous, man. You get too attached to it. It all, like, if it is one of these things that you find yourself telling yourself every day that, like, just to keep yourself going, I'm this and this, or I'm ambitious, or I'm gonna I want to represent my race all by myself and my company or whatever. Like, if you get all connected to all of those things, you're gonna get yourself into some trouble. You won't really understand why you're not as happy as you think you are. But yet, the way you think about your own happiness is really all you need. If it works, it works. But for how long? And if it's the more authentic your reasoning is, the more figured out, the more logically, it's just these formulas are physics. They're products of physics. They're just this is, I really think of even my emotions as physics, because otherwise I just feel like I'm just drunk on something I can't measure and record and deal with, figure out what's going on. But even, I don't know, it's like, even when it just comes to myself, besides any students or kids or whatever, there's a legacy that exists that I would like to be proud of based on what the person I call myself does. And that's not really, that's another one of those things that people get attached to, especially single people with a life purpose, quote unquote. I don't know. Again, if the purpose is relevant and authentic enough, it'll be eternal. But that's a silly way to say it. Sorry, because it'll all be temporary, of course. But the more authentic it is, the harder it'll be to really, those lines will blur. It's just completely based on your ability to conceptualize something like that. But otherwise, yeah. So it's really tricky, because I know I want to be able to just take care of myself on all sorts of levels, but at what point is enough enough? And at what point am I just overworking it or missing out on something else, you know? And in those moments, I really try to listen to my heart and feel when it's time for things, and that's gotten a lot better because the the labeling of who I am seems to mess with the way I feel about is it time for this or this, you know? And so there's all these sneaky little maze traps that that have kind of propped their way into my existence, even though I've really enjoyed studying, just kind of like letting go of what could be versus holding more closely onto what is and developing that, like really trying to garden correctly across a few different fields of process. And that that's been a real mess because I feel like the whatever philosophy or strategy you adopt, you've picked one. Even if you haven't studied any of that stuff, you're using it. So if you're just kind of going on an unconscious strategy and not paying attention to the velocity of leverage of each potential strategy you could take, you know, that's kind of where I get all frazzled out because I don't know if I could be doing better or worse. And then all of a sudden I'm comparing things, which means all of a sudden I'm in the identity loop again. And all of a sudden I'm locked in all of these analogies of if this, then this, therefore. And if I can let go of that, it's a lot easier for me to look back and see that the times I decided to do that were actually exponential amounts more productive and creative than times when I feel like I'm supposed to be this and this and I have to kind of force it. Of course, there's time for all of that, but really, yeah, it's a listening sport. You know, if you can tell when to do what, nothing is hard. Nothing is forced. It's such a living, breathing thing that just kind of cleans itself out as it goes, and eventually it'll clean me out too. But for now, while I'm in this whole thing, I seem to do the best with who I am and where I'm going and what I will become, and the same for all of those around me when I don't care. You know? And it's not that I don't care, it's because I care so much that after a while there's not really much I can tell you, you know. It's like I don't judge you, I love the crap out of you, you know, but do your thing, and you know, to each his own, and understand that, you know, this power chase that everybody's on, or this, it's all just games of physics and stuff, but like truly to be able to master power is just to really be able to master yourself, and to be able to master yourself means in part letting go of your connection to the idea of legacy in your life, so that way you can really let legacy be legacy. You know, the way it was intended to be, as it was just born into this world with a name of legacy. So it's nobody's fault. You just got to respect what's already there. Well, much love, y'all. This was hopefully this I'll get back on this thing more often, but like also I just like letting it all ruminate. I went crazy and posted way too much way too soon because I was more concerned with the information being available before I got hit by a car or something. Anyway, peace, y'all. Be safe, have a good week, and other stuff. Out then.